What's up, guys? This is how to break 19 minutes in a 5K. I'm going to be sharing the exact tips, tricks, and strategies, the exact workouts, everything you need to help get you to that sub 19. So let's dive in and let's do this. So before we get too far into this, let me tell you about my experience breaking 19. So I first ran in the 18s when I was a sophomore in high school, cross-country season in the fall. I remember this was the very first time I actually felt like I was a fast runner. I had just made the varsity team, and I remember running 18:48 in one of my first 5Ks that year. And I remember thinking, man, I made it. This is it. And it's kind of crazy to think about where I was then to where I am now. When I think back to, my beginning of high school where I really started getting into cross country, I had a teacher, a career placement class or something, who wanted us to draw what our biggest achievement in high school was going to be. And so I drew this picture, and it was me crossing the finish line of a 5K cross country season, and my time was like 18:40 something. And I remember thinking, at the time, that was so far ahead of where I was that it didn't even seem like a reality. And, fast forward all these years, I've run nearly 4 minutes faster than that time. Maybe not 4 minutes, maybe about 3.5 minutes faster than that time. It's kind of crazy to think how far I've come and how far you can go. I started high school without even running in the 23s. I was a 24-minute 5K runner, and when I graduated from high school, I was low 16s. So I know you can do it. It just takes time. It just takes effort. It takes a lot of consistent, dedicated miles, but you can get there. And so today I'm going to show you how you can get under 19 minutes for that 5K. All right, so for starters, if you're going to run an 18:59, that is about 6 minutes and 6 seconds per mile, or about 3:47 per kilometer. So if you were going to run perfectly even splits the whole way down the board, it would look something like this. You'd go through mile 1 in 6:06, mile 2 in 12:12, and mile 3 in 18:18. Or if you're going through the 1Ks, or if you're going by kilometers, you'll go through 1K in 3:47, 7:36, so on and so on, until you hit the 5K in 18:59. So, target paces. So, usually in situations like this, I would just say run easy pace as a conversational pace. That is the bottom line. That is the big answer, is run your easy pace at conversational pace. But if you had to put a time behind it, I would say anywhere between 7 flat to 8:30 per mile or greater. This is just kind of a broad range. This is the range that I spend a lot of time in when I'm training, no matter what distance I'm training for. So when you're trying to break that 19-minute 5K barrier, this is ideally kind of where you're going to sit. You could go slower, like I said. This is just to give you kind of a ballpark range. So if that, in terms of kilometers, that's 421 to about 517 per kilometer. Now, tempo pace. Tempo pace is also commonly referred to as your lactic threshold. Your lactic threshold is the threshold at where your body can no longer clear lactic from the body. So when you run and you're working hard, your body creates this substance called lactic, and it builds up in your muscles. And when your body can no longer clear it, that's when you hit that threshold. The trick to lactic threshold is the more time you spend there, the faster you'll be on race day. Now, your tempo pace or lactic threshold pace is not your race pace. It is slower than your race pace. But science says that when you spend a lot of time in that lactic threshold zone, you will be able to race faster when you need to. So goal pace, or for your goal tempo pace, would be about 625 to 635 per mile, or about 359 to 405 per kilometer. Now remember, our goal race pace is 606 per mile, or 347 per kilometer. So this is about 20 seconds slower than that as far as mileage goes. Intervals. So intervals are meant to be a little bit faster than race pace. And the reason being is they are just that. They are intervals. In a race, you don't get a break in the middle of it. You're going at a race pace and you just keep going until you finish. With intervals, you get a break or some kind of recovery during that whole process. So your target interval pace should be about 6 flat to 6:10 per mile. If you could go a little bit faster than that, that's great too. In terms of kilometers, that's 344 to 347 per kilometer. Now, if you're doing 400s, which in a second I'll give you an example of some workouts. If you're doing 400s, I would suggest going through about 123 to 128, or if you're going through 800s, go through the 800 split in 248 to 253. Now, workouts. So when I build training plans for people, I like to break down the weeks and I'll go over that in a second too. But I have two different categories of speed work. So there's category A, which is all about being fast, and there's category B, which is all about being strong. So category A are things like intervals, and category B are things like lactic threshold or tempo runs. So if you were going to do some different workouts, this would be a few different sample workouts to run an 18:59 5K. So you could do something like this, where you do 5 by 1K in about 3:43 to 3:47 per kilometer, with about 2 minutes rest in between. In other words, that's about 5:59 to 6:05 per mile pace. Obviously, warm up and cool down after. Now you notice that range is faster than the target race pace, and that's because, like I said, with intervals you get that chance to recover in between. So another workout would be 6 by 800 meters in about 250 through the 800 meter split with a 90 seconds rest. And like I said, one of my favorite workouts, which I made a video right up above where I talk about one of my favorite workouts, we dive into 400 meter repeats, and you go through in about 125 per 400 meters. Now let's talk about strength workouts. So category B is all about lactic threshold and tempo pace. So these are things like a 20-minute tempo. If you're going off of miles, you could do a 2 by 2 mile tempo with 3 minutes jog in between. Or if you're doing kilometers, you could do 2 by 3K tempo with 3 minutes jog in between. Any of these combinations can help get you to where you need to be to get that 18:59 5K. So when I'm building a training plan, this is what I suggest for people who want to run that 18:59 or faster. Is ideally you want to have 4 to 6 days of running. Now, could you do it in 4 days? Could you do it in 3 days a week? Sure, but ideally 4 to 6 days a week of running is kind of that sweet spot. That's what I found to be pretty successful when it comes to having the base and having the stamina and endurance to run that 18:59. So breaking down the week, it looks something like this. So ideally on the weekend, whether that's Saturday or Sunday, have a long run. Over the course of your training plan, build up to about 10 to 12 miles. Now, if you're just starting out, which if you're looking at 18:59, you're probably not just starting out. You've probably been running for a little while. So you should have some kind of long run of 6-7 miles underneath your belt. Like I said, gradually build up to 10 or 12 miles. If you could do that at an easy conversational pace, you're going to have a great aerobic capacity to be able to get that 18:59 5K. Some other days during the week, you want to have a couple easy days. Now, easy days means recovery days. It means conversation pace days. Days that you're not running hard because it's an easy day. So easy days or recovery days, if you want to run that 18:59, you want to hover between 30 and 40-ish minutes of running. Now, then you throw in a couple workouts, like we said, category 1 from category A, 1 from category B. So some kind of intervals and some kind of tempo run. And one of my secret weapons for any 5K training program is adding striders to after your runs at least 3 days a week. Now, striders aren't sprints. They're not, wind sprints or, going as hard as you can. Now, striders focus on 3 things. They focus on form, they focus on good leg turnover, and they focus on feeling fast. Now, if you could add 4 to 6 of those 3 days a week, you're going to get kind of that speed work in disguise, and it's going to help you get to that 18:59 much, much faster. If you want to see another video where I talk about what exactly striders are and how to do them, here's another link to that video right up above. And that is it, guys. That is kind of my fire hose, blah, here's how to run 18:59. Now, is this the only way to do it? Absolutely not, and I'll be the first to admit that. There are many ways to get under 19 minutes in a 5K. This is what I found to be successful, and this is what I found with my athletes to help get them to that PR. So if this video has been any help to you, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Share this with your friends. If you have friends that are also trying to hit certain time barriers, let them know about these videos. I have a ton of videos talking about different 5K time goals, and I'll post the link to the playlist with this video. So be sure to smash that thumbs up button, leave a comment down below. What is your 5K PR? And I will see you in the next video.